Well, it's been quite a week in social media. I think the biggest news is Elon and Twitter have agreed to a $44 billion purchase of the platform. Pretty crazy. I didn't think this would all go down, but it did. So what's next? Let's talk about that in this video. And there's a lot of other really important social media headlines to discuss this week. If you guys don't know who I am, I'm Kip Russell, the social media director at Spinutech, one of the world's leading advertising agencies, work with some of the world's biggest brands. I'm an influencer myself with nearly 1 million social media followers. So I've been doing this since the MySpace days. And I spend all my time on TikTok now. So needless to say, I live and breathe this stuff, and I'm sharing with you guys the stuff I'm paying attention to that really can impact client strategies, my own strategies, like what's going on that's really impacting the landscape. And today, let's start with Elon. Again, I'm not going to pick a side politically on all this stuff. I know people are. Really, I'm looking at it technically. How is it going to impact the channel? And the things that he's been talking about so far are, one, open source algorithm, which Twitter's been sort of notoriously doesn't listen to its user base, and I think this is something that Elon will actually apply. And I'm not actually sure why most of the channels don't take more insight from their users. I do know TikTok is putting surveys out all the time with its creators, so that's important to constantly nuance the channel to make it better. So open source algorithm, I think, will be helpful, similar to Tesla, get more brains on it, make it a better platform, transparency. Restoring free speech, that's probably the most controversial one right now with hate speech and misinformation. How does this platform regulate that? His sort of point of view is use the law of the land, and because it's the water cooler of the world, that these debates should be being had. Interesting, and really trying to push out the extremes and keep it focused on the people that are having rational discussions. Sounds good in theory. We'll see how it goes. And can't blame him for wanting to do that with everything that's going on. We're going to talk about Getter and Trump's social truth network a little bit later on in this too. Getting rid of bots he's talking about. I think that's key to all social networks moving forward. And I think a couple good ways he's talking about doing that is verification, potentially having a subscription model. Don't know how successful that will be, but I do think if people subscribe and you became verified, like they use your ID and other things to make sure that you're who you say you are, I think that could differentiate how people interact with people on the channel, taking people with no verification, because if you're just paying for it, a lot less serious than people that are kind of anonymized. And I do think that having that verification of who you are, just like on Facebook, who you yourself now, that's kind of the way that the channel moved. It makes you police yourself, because ultimately there's consequences for how you act online in real life too. So I do think that's a good thing for Twitter. I think it's a little bit overdue to a degree. I think the days of making random junkie profiles are kind of gone. And I think that will also help with the bots. Love that stuff moving forward. He talked about getting rid of ads completely. I don't know if that's smart. It's 90% of Twitter's revenue right now. We'll see where it goes with that. He talked about cost cutting. We'll see. But I do think Twitter's got a really strong identity. Twitter's strength is its conversation. It's most informative about what's going on in the world right now. It has earned media value, and its creators, the people who are helping stir up the conversation, are what make it valuable. So how do you incentivize those people more? How do you double down there? And I think that's the thing that makes it unique and really will help it grow and become what it is, a really important platform, but potentially even greater. I think users are up. Revenue hasn't gone up, but users are up on Twitter now. And I think that's because all the earned media Elon has generated on the platform. And it's only going to help moving forward. We'll see how it goes. So exciting stuff. I do want to talk about, and this is again not political, picking sides. Over the weekend, Truth Social, which is Trump's social network, was #1 in the app downloads for a couple of, today it's #3, but it's the #1 leading social media download. So we'll see if his celebrity and his sort of clout and base is enough to make that channel successful. I've been on it playing around now that it's kind of opened up and relaunched. It's basically clunky like most new social networks, doesn't really have an identity of what it is. It's more about the content. So, can the fringe right 6 or 7 million people hold down and make it a channel monetized? Is Getter and Truth Social going to combine and be something? I definitely think you need to pay attention to it. I think it had a shit start, but it's now relaunching. We'll see if it has any sustained momentum. It's pretty blah right now, but I think it's really focusing on who its audience is and its creators, but it's something that people are going to have to pay attention to for the next 3 to 6 months to see if it has any traction. I do think the Getter and them could do something together, and they really own an audience. So we'll see. So something to pay attention to. You can't ignore it. Gotta figure it out if it's going to be a player. Facebook usage is up again, but revenue's down. And I think what Facebook is going through is a little bit of struggling with identity. TikTok is the entertainment channel now, the vibe, the culture, which was, Instagram. TikTok is the cultural water cooler and news. YouTube is for finding, like long form content on things that you love and you're interested in. Facebook was sort of like the newspaper, right? It does own your friends and family sphere. Is that enough to hold it down? What other things can make it interesting for you want to spend time? I've seen a lot more entertainment and news and movies, stuff that I'm interested in. So if they're going into the more interest space, that could help it. But what is making it unique compared to other channels? I'm not sure it has that vision yet. Instagram sort of brand deal and was like a fitnessy lifestyle. I don't know if that's as important, but I do know that Reels has helped stabilize it, and it's growing in Asia according to the data that came out for Q2. Usage in Europe and America is down, probably because of TikTok, most importantly. But again, I'm not seeing it did do 27 billion in revenue. I do think it's still the number one ad platform. I do think e-commerce brands and some CPGs and some lifestyle brands are going to move dollars to TikTok. It makes sense. The ad platform on TikTok isn't the same, but it's getting better in terms of Facebook. But Facebook campaigns are doing better. There's a little bit less competition now. If you're going full funnel and you're doing that in-app data and really experimenting with creative, you can do great numbers right now. Things are starting to kind of improve on Facebook's end. So it's gonna be interesting. I think they need to figure out their identity a little bit more and put stakes in the ground to differentiate themselves from TikTok and everything else. A couple of other stories that we're gonna talk about here is Pinterest. Ads users, but revenue down again. This is basically because Google also is trying to do shopping and discovery, which was sort of the unique thing. Pinterest was the visual search engine. Google's moving in that way and really focused on shopping and discovery with e-com, all that stuff. They've really done a good job of owning that last click. But I do think the most important things I've noticed with all of my clients is that if you're not doing discovery or prospecting, or if you're not really focused on your social networks, at some point there's a diminishing return, right? You need to be building brand. And the place to build brand, new eyeballs, prospecting is going to be social networks for the most part. But Pinterest, it's still, again, trying to figure out where it is past COVID, past shutdown, where people aren't shopping as much. They're kind of getting out and getting on different channels. So we'll see. The last thing I want to talk about here is short form video across the board. So YouTube had 30 billion daily views on shorts. It's pretty incredible. You got TikTok exploding. You got Reels on Facebook and Instagram. Reels is, testing they're all testing ad platforms because this is now where the eyeballs are, and they're really the gateway drug content that can be seed your pillar content or drive traffic to other monetization channels. And the fastest way to build brand right now. These channels need to figure out how to monetize, and most of them don't want to do in-stream. They're going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to either do in-stream or break ads up or break content up or do more product placement, do better partnerships with creators. There's going to be a lot of emphasis on this. Even Twitch is getting into the mix. I mean, essentially Netflix, with how do they add ad revenue? How do they keep growing and sustaining their business models when you can't just do in-stream ads like YouTube? So I think it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, how they take care of their creators, because ultimately the one who can balance the taking care of their creators so it becomes a platform where people want to be and versus being profitable is going to be the game in the next few years. I think all of this, you guys should understand, is natural progression of a channel. If the phone is the TV, each new social network is really just owning an audience. So back in the day, there was, ABC, NBC, 5 or 6 channels, then it went to Fox and exploded, and then cable news came out. This is the way the phone will eventually be, and there'll probably be a lot more niche networks in addition to the mass ones. So a lot going on. Make sure you're paying attention. Make sure you're pivoting. Any other questions or things to pay attention to, shoot me a note in the comments, but I hope that this is informative to you guys. I'm really excited. I think there's so much change, and I'm paying attention to it as more closely than ever, studying it every week for you guys. So have a good day. Let me know if you enjoyed this in the comments below. Thanks.